Madam Chair, I move that we reconvene to open session and adopt certification.
A second.
It has been moved and second that we reconvene in open session and adopt certification of closed session.
Certification of closed session. Whereas the Dinwiddie County School Board has convened a closed session on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas paragraph 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Dinwiddie County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only such business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the school board. Jay Smith, District 1.
I certify.
Betty Haney, District 2.
I certify.
Barbara Pittman, District 3.
I certify.
Mary Benjamin, District 4.
I certify.
Sherlyn Merritt, District 5.
I certify.
And just for non-voting, Jamaica Weaver, Student Representative. Claire Corbett, Student Representative Alternate. Madam Chair, all certified.
Thank you. Now we'll invite you to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Clara Corbett.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Okay. Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and second that we adopt the agenda as presented. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Dr. Weston?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Benjamin, before you make your, before you vote on the personnel report this evening, I'd like to take time to tell you a little bit about two individuals that I'll be recommending tonight. The first person I'd like to recommend is Mr. Chuck Moss. I'm recommending him as the Director of Innovation and Development. Mr. Moss has a Bachelor of Arts in History and also a Master's of Science in Administration. He's done 26 years in education. The last 8 years he's been with us here in Dinwiddie County. You know, most recently we awarded him the ESP gave him the Pathfinder Award. We know he's one of the we watch him all the time, and if you watch him on Twitter, you can see him just about anywhere. Mr. Moss is everywhere. He's worked at both the elementary and secondary level, and we look forward to seeing what he'll bring to this grant-funded position. The second individual that I'll be recommending this evening is Mrs. Michelle Powell for the Coordinator of Student Services. Mrs. Powell brings to us 34 years in education, has quite an interesting resume. She's been with us the last 7 years. She's worked both at the elementary and secondary level as a teacher as well as an administrator. As a matter of fact, in a couple of those schools, she's turned those schools around. And in this position, she will be doing quite a lot of that work, working with vulnerable students and the like. So she's done a lot of the work that this job is going to entail. She has a bachelor's degree in Virginia Tech. I'm going to try not to hold that against her. She has a master's degree. She loves Virginia Tech, if you know Ms. Powell. She's got a master's degree from Longwood University, and she also went to Virginia State University for her administrative endorsement. She was a Teacher of the Year, was the secretary for the Virginia High School League Conference. So she brings, and she also served as working as a gifted and talented education program as a coordinator. So I'm recommending both of those individuals to you this evening.
Okay. Do you want to ask them for their family? You want to wait?
You do it actually.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the personnel list as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we will accept the personnel list as presented. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none. The minutes are approved. Dr. Weston?
Yes, so we do have Ms. Powell and Mr. Moss both here with us. I have promised the board that these are both principals of our schools right now, and we have promised the board that we will not make any changes until we have a suitable replacement for both places. But I didn't know if you have family with you, or is it just the two of you here this evening? I know we have lots of people viewing from home, and I know that you're going to do a great job. So if you could just join me in welcoming the two of them in their new positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Special recognitions.
So Dr. Gurley
Dr.
and
Gurley.
Mrs. Clark will be doing them this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I am here on behalf of Miss Hannon to do the spelling bee recognition. She's over in the corner with us to do the spelling bee recognition. And so I don't have to remind everyone that March the 13th changed our lives so drastically last school year. But we did have a spelling bee last year, and we did not have an opportunity to recognize the winners. So I want to do that at this time. I first want to recognize our runner-up, who's probably watching us, and that is Hayden Lamb. And that was Hayden was the runner-up from Sutherland from last school year. We did have a winner, our 2020 winner from last school year, and make sure I have the right, was Mr. Franzition, Roger Franzition. If you want to come up to the center so that we can recognize you. And we do have a plaque that's being presented to you for being the 2020 spelling bee, and he was our division winner from last school year. And let me tell you something, that spelling bee is amazing. You clearly can spell better than I can. I rely heavily on spell check, but I do want to thank you for being an amazing kiddo. And this is your plaque. If you want to hang tight for us, I'm going to do one more recognition. I want to give her a round of applause. And we have one more. So this school year, again, for the 2021 school year, Hayden Lamb was again our runner-up. So we do want to recognize Hayden for an outstanding job. This school year, for the 2021 school year, Elijah Gravely, I'm sorry, was our winner this school year. And let me tell you, this year was one of those nail biters again because the students did an amazing job. So if you want to come forward, and we do have a plaque for you, Elijah. You did an amazing job. Thank you. And Miss Clark is going to get your, you want to come up? Miss Clark is going to get a picture of you. And this is a copy of your, and here's a bag. And just to complete the recognition for the spelling bee, I do want to thank, one thing that makes my job really easy is that I get to work with an outstanding team. And so I do want to recognize Miss Hannon because she does this so effortlessly, or at least she makes it look like that way anyway. And I'm sure Miss Minitry is probably watching, and she does a phenomenal job of being our pronouncer. And then also I'd like to recognize Miss Harrell because she does a lot of that behind the scenes organization for the spelling bee. And so on behalf of our school division, I want to thank our winners and everyone who just makes it happen. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. So I have a special recognition of something we received this week. We received a letter from Sarah Steely, who is the Associate Director of No Kid Hungry Virginia. And March 8th through the 12th is actually National School Breakfast Week, which is an annual opportunity to celebrate our incredible school nutrition staff and their commitment to ensuring that students start their day ready to learn. March, this month, of course,
this week, marks 1 year since the pandemic outbreak saw schools across Virginia shift to virtual learning, requiring our nutritional departments to pivot overnight to adapt their meal programs to curbside pickup and home delivery, which we definitely did here in Dinwiddie. So the school nutrition directors and their teams are true heroes and have been on the front lines since day one. So this week we are going to celebrate them. And No Kid Hungry in Virginia has sent a special little trophy that we would like to honor Mr. Kerry Athey with, our school nutrition director, so if you would come up. So I have a little box over here, but this was in the box. This is the School Meals Hero Trophy for you. So we're going to take your picture with this.
Oh, great.
And you are powered by breakfast because they want us to tag them in our post. So hashtag powered by breakfast, and we are celebrating and thanking you and your team for all the meals. Because I don't know how many meals, I don't know what the number is up to now of the curbside and meal deliveries we have done, but thousands. So thank you.
It'll be in the PowerPoint at 6 o'clock if you'd like to speak.
Okay.
That
That number?
Ms. Bender, I'd just like to say something about Mr. Athey. Absolutely, since day one, the first thing he said is, how can we keep making certain that we were feeding our young people? And so he was whatever it takes. He and his team just rallied together, and I just appreciate that. They've been out in our community, they're in our schools. They're always worried when we have the ice storm, making sure that kids are fed and families have what they need. And so I just really appreciate his leadership and just his calm demeanor and the way that he approaches things that can be somewhat, it could have gone a different way. So I just really appreciate you, Mr. Athey, and thank you so much every day for your leadership.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of our winners. Thank you, young people. Right now, we'll take a 5-minute break, and those students that we have with us, and if you want to go to get with your homework, or you may do so. And thank you, parents, very much for coming out and being with your students. Thank you for allowing us to work with your students every day. So if you want to get a picture or something outside, you may do that, and we'll be back 3 minutes for the rest of us. Thank you again for coming.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Very proud of him. Yes, sir, thank you, I appreciate that.
We're going to move on with our agenda. We're going to consent agenda. I need a motion to accept expenditure reports.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the expenditure report.
Second.
It has been moved and second that we accept expenditure reports as presented. All of those in favor, please use the usual sign.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, the expenditure reports are accepted. The minutes,
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the minutes for January the 26th as presented.
Second?
it has been moved and second that we accept the minutes from January the 26th, 2021. All of those in favor, use the usual sign.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, the minutes are accepted. Board matters,
Yes, ma'am. The first one we have this evening is the Virginia School Board Association Policy Services Agreement. As you know, we have a great partnership with the Virginia School Board Association, and so yearly we have to renew this agreement. That affords us with, they really make certain that they keep our policies in line with state codes and anything that's changing in the law. And so we need a motion to continue this for the upcoming school year. We'd start again on April the 1st.
Madam Chair, I move that we continue the VSBA policy service agreement.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we continue the VSBA policy services agreement. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No nays. We will continue the VSBA policy services agreement.
Our second matter for this evening are our secondary courses. I'd like to invite Ms. Wolfe to talk to us about the courses that she's got planned for 2021 and beyond. Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to have a moment to kind of share with you our new courses proposed for the new school year, starting with the fall. The course chart that's hyperlinked in the agenda, I guess the most important part is that key in the middle right below the title that tells you what every course is. So you can see that the tannish color courses are the middle school courses. The green are the more of the high school courses. I want to particularly draw your attention to the bright yellow, and I'm just going to highlight those briefly as to these are the ones that the students are making decisions on now and have the opportunity to provide their student input as to if they have an interest in the course. It doesn't replace their overall course request, but it does give us an indication of where we want to go. So starting in the far left side, we are bringing back Shakespeare. There seems to be an increase in interest in poetry and things of that sort. I think maybe it's because of our awesome creative writing team and what they've brought to the table. So we will be offering Shakespeare as an option to students this coming year. In the category of history, you'll see that we have some teachers that have been able to seek approval and additional endorsements for teaching dual enrollment. So we will be able to offer dual enrollment U.S. history in place of AP U.S. history, so our students could be guaranteed that college credit as opposed to having to take the test to earn the credit. In our science department, we have a teacher that is currently undergoing or preparing for the training to be able to teach AP environmental science, and we're seeking another teacher to become endorsed for AP computer science. And those two courses specifically, we have seen our students participate virtually through Virtual Virginia in those. And I think that the enrollment in those courses would go up dramatically if we were able to offer them in person. So we are working to get our teachers prepared for those two courses if the students request that. Under world languages, you'll see a lot of purple right now as Virtual Virginia options. We have a vacancy in world languages right now, so we will be looking to hire an additional teacher, and that will kind of dictate what we're able to offer in person. However, I did want to survey the students, and as of right now, the top 3 languages that they're requesting are Spanish, being number 1, but a very close second was American Sign Language. And so that is offered in a 3-course sequence through Virtual Virginia. And so students will be able to use Virtual Virginia at the very least to be able to complete that world languages requirement. Now as we move over towards more of the elective side, this year we offered health informatics. We currently have one of our business teachers offering health informatics, which ties closely into medical coding and billing and cybersecurity. And so those 2 courses will be offered on even odd years, and they all complete part of the sequence in that progression. And turf grass management. Turf grass management, I think there will be an interest to maintain the fields and have some more hands-on components to that. So we'll be watching the student surveys closely. I know some of our students really enjoy working in the greenhouse, so this will give them another hands-on option. And the third big offering would be the travel and tourism marketing. When we adopted the real estate class, I think that if we could build a strong pathway toward real estate, we could definitely have more students participating in earning that certification. Small changes, you'll notice that marketing is listed as a new course, but that's more of like a course update. When I was reviewing the courses, Intro to Marketing doesn't complete with as many classes as marketing does, and it's a little bit more rigorous, but it's still acceptable for our ninth graders. So we're just going to be doing an even swap. So instead of taking Intro to Marketing in ninth grade, the students will have the option just to take marketing, which will give them a higher rate of completion in that sequence. Some of our classes are in gray, so the way that our course schedule was set up for this year, we will wait 1 year on Culinary 2, so we will have 2 sections of Culinary 1 next year instead of a Culinary 1 and 2. With the number of intros that we have this year, we'll have a need for 2 sections of Culinary 1. And then we offer staggering years for, even odd years for engineering drawing design and architectural drawing design. The only other course for elimination would be the Study Skills Math, and I think in talking with Dr. Fields or Dr. Joyner that we are going to look toward more putting students in on content and then supporting them in that way. So we're having a little bit of changes with our exceptional ed department. And other changes for exceptional ed would be able to offer them specific CTE courses in business and in agriculture to meet the needs of their IEP. So those particular 2 courses, Office Specialist and Agricultural Education Preparation, are designed to give them the foundational skills if they are on Applied Studies diploma track to then get to where they are more comfortable in those intro courses and can be more successful in those. And we have teachers expressing interest in teaching those sections. And of course, all the off-campus offerings are on the far right. So the last thing that I will kind of share is that Math 6. You'll notice we went back to Math 6. And that kind of brings me to the Virginia Mathematics Pathway Initiative. The state will be updating or adopting the new SOL standards in 2023, which sounds like a really far, far away place. However, at Community Conversations, they're going to be starting to offer webinars to parents and to key stakeholders starting this month. And so the invitation is there in the board documents so that you can see when those webinars will occur. But it's a drastic change to how we view mathematics. So there's no more Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. It is more K through 7 curriculum, a 8 through 10 curriculum, and then you are choosing pathway-specific mathematic courses that align to your career choices. So we've done a lot of work toward having students develop their academic and career plans and really be intentional about telling us, exploring courses in that way. We don't expect them to say they know exactly what they want to do when they grow up, but as many experiences as we can give them now and then provide them relevant course experiences, especially in mathematics. There's been a lot of studies, a lot of us took calculus or whatever, but you don't necessarily need calculus in the job that you're pursuing. So it's a lot more intentionality behind finding a course that aligns with what your career aspirations are to ensure that you are successful in that career venture. So both of those are also hyperlinked, and I'll be speaking more to that in the next board meeting. Are there any questions about the course offerings? And of course, this is all descriptions and everything when you hover over it so that you can see the prerequisites and any other details about the courses.
I have a question. I know we had some conversations earlier in the year about logistics, and we also had that conversation at Rwanti. So are we still pursuing that? Or
So I did include that in the survey, the course survey, and we have, when I checked it earlier today, about 30 to 40 students that indicated that they would be interested in a career. And I kind of, because I don't know if all students understand what logistics means, so I kind of gave them different ways. Would you like to work at a place like Walmart distribution or Amazon, et cetera, or learn more about global logistics? And so we will have that survey data. And last year we had it all lined up to offer the CLA and CLT, but we will be reaching back out to CCWA to set that up for our students. Most of the students have to be 18 to enter that profession anyway, so we had looked at offering it to our seniors. And so Ms. Cater and I will be working to look at that as well. And that's an 8-week course for the CLA, the Certified Logistics Associate. And then the CLT would be another series of courses, but they can obtain that certificate in that direction.
So is there something else you can pair it with? If that's only 8 weeks, then several sets of 8 weeks to make a cluster?
It would be after school. It wouldn't be it would not be a course. The course that Rwani would probably offer would be the Global Logistics course. And so that would earn course credit. So this would just be a pathway to employment.
To a certification, okay. Thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I did read the report and look at the video, and I thought that the math, the way we were talking about math, that it was a great thing to try to get all the students interested in whatever they think they may do once they leave school. The math would be applicable to that area. So I think that's a welcome change.
Yes. It'll look very different for sure, but I think it's going to make a lot more sense to students as to why they need to learn statistics if they're going in that direction or if they're going into a medical field, making it more specialized toward what they're looking for.
Questions? Thank you.
Right. I think I need approval
Right.
on the
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the secondary courses that are proposed by Ms. Wolford.
It has been moved and second that we accept the report from Ms. Wolford. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, thank you.
Thank you.
This to me is a sign that things are getting back to normal because we have Mr. Atkins here to talk about a field trip. I'm so excited.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Presenting 2 field trips. First one is they're both actually the cattle working competition. One's the regional level, one's the state level. Depending on how well the students do at the regional level will determine if we compete at the state level. Typically, the regional competition's in Blackstone, but it's not going to be at Blackstone this year. The location is to be determined. They are going to have one, but they don't know where exactly it's going to be, so that's why I'm presenting the regional one, because it possibly could be over 50 miles. The second competition, the state competition, will be at Rockingham County on April 16th. So the first one will probably be at the end of March, and then the state competition will be 4/16. For both cattle working competitions, it's going to be one school at a time in the building. So they're only going to be judging one school. That school will compete. The judges will write down their score, and then they'll leave. And the next school will enter. So it won't be multiple schools in the same building at the same time. We will take an activity bus, looking at roughly between 6 to 10 students. So we'll take the activity bus, 1 student per seat, and the students will only miss 1 day of school for the regional competition, and if they make to the state competition, they'll miss 1 more day of school.
You have your chaperones and or supervisors, you have everybody you need to
We'll
make
have
this trip.
Ms. Laurel Bishop, our FFA sponsor, FFA teacher at the high school, should be going on the trip with them.
Okay. Are there any questions? He needs a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the competition and wish them the best of luck.
I second it.
It has been moved and second that we approve the FFA regional and state cattle working competition. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, the competition trip is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there any new business? Superintendent matters?
I'd like to
Dr.
have
Liston?
Dr. Gurley come up, both of you will be facilitating this evening.
Okay, Dr. Gurley?
Good evening, board again.
Good evening again.
So my months are kind of running together. So I believe it was January, it's right before our ice storm. Mr. Leving from the middle school, our 7th grade civics teacher, had reached out to us and shared a project that his classroom, his classes were doing. And it's always nice when our students are doing things that are very timely. So they were working on things that were very relevant to them in terms of local government and making decisions. And so they were looking at some things that were impacting them as it relates to school and policies. So he said, hey, what can I do with this? Is this something that I could present to the board? And I said, well, absolutely. We won't get any emotions on it at this meeting, but most certainly I think the board would love to see the project that our students are doing. So he's going to come up and do our academic spotlight just to, he's going to highlight a project that his students were doing. And so I'll give him these moments to present this project to you all. Yes. The PowerPoint was the one that was emailed. It's the one that was attached to the.
All this new technology, so it's getting to do it to the right people.
Miss goes.
If you ever have the opportunity to be at the middle school, as soon as you walk in, you can hear Mr. Levin's class, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much energy in that room, and it was so funny the other day when I was there, Mr. Thornton, he goes, look, it's like this every single day. It was so amazing to see facilitating the in-person instruction as well as the kids at home and equally engaged on both ends. It's just amazing, so. Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody ever has a chance to visit with, there.
Well, and I got to co-host School Center with him one day, and that was life-changing. And I'm a former civics teacher, and so when we interviewed, we talked an awful lot about civics in the current climate, and then, how is it different now than it was just a year ago? And one of the things we're doing at the middle school as a whole is working on changing the way we do our professional goals into more of an engagement initiative. And how do we engage our community? How do we engage our families? How do we keep our kids engaged? And I'm gonna tell you what, Ms. Levin has got that covered without question. And it's the first time in my 20-some years in education that a teacher has brought a referendum from their students to talk about to the board. And so I'm very, very excited that he is going to be part of what we're doing. And we have the PowerPoint. And so without further ado, Mr. Levin.
I would like to note some of my students might disagree on it being a good thing that they can all hear me. But I want to thank everybody for their time. Mr. Moss, Dr. Gurley, Dr. Weston, Madam Chair, the entire board, thank you very much for your time. So we did work on a proposal to the school board. I'm ready for the next slide. So as part of the civics curriculum, students worked on a local government project wherein they wrote a letter to the school board with a way to make Dinwiddie Middle School a better place. We are ready for the next slide. Students were given some examples of ideas to write about, but they could also create their own. I created, I believe, 16 different ideas. Ultimately, the students wrote letters on over 30 different topics. It was 35, 36, something like that. In any event, it was a majority of the topics that were written about were student-created topics. Students incorporated skills they had previously learned about respectful dialogue by debating over which of these ideas would be presented to the board. So we had talked earlier in the school year as part of some other SOLs about how respectful dialogue is done in a civil society, in a democratic society. And so they were able to incorporate that into the local government unit. So I ended up coding all of the different ideas into a computer program. It randomly gave out 8 different numbers, which corresponded to the ideas for each class. Students voted amongst those 8 on which ideas would be debated in their class. The top 4 ideas from those 8 for each class were split among the Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday cohorts so that each class would debate one idea against each other. I didn't want to introduce any bias into the debate, so I was not the judge for the debates, we had our wonderful AP administrative team be judges, Ms. Tucker, Ms. Adams, Mr. Crowder, and also the DMS Gen school librarian, Ms. Melick. Each debate included an opening statement by the students, a rebuttal, a counter rebuttal by the other team. The debates also included direct questioning from the judges and cross questioning from the two different teams and a closing statement. Because of the different cohorts, Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday, there ended up being 8 winning ideas from these, so that hence the bracket there. And then based on the input from the judges, the DMS principal, Mr. Moss, selected one of the 8 to be the idea ultimately brought before you. And that idea is that Wednesdays should continue to be a work from home day even after the pandemic is over. That was the winning idea amongst my classes, and it was some stiff competition with the other ideas as well. So some main reasons: it helps prevent student burnout. One of my students at the time, 3rd period, now 6th period, Kanaya Simmons, wrote, "Students are tired from being in school all day for most of the week." Another one of my students, Maggie Baker, 1st period, wrote, "Us students need a day to recharge." So that gets to the student burnout item. It allows more time for missing work to be completed. One of my 1st period students, Parker Cravath, wrote, "A lot of students are struggling with the current workload given, so this helps them with that." It gives students more family time as well, and it greatly reduces student stress. Parker wrote, "This idea will improve DMS because there will be less kids at school dealing with stress and tons of work." Additionally, other factors to consider: parents are already used to the schedule. They've been used to it, so the students reasoned that this would be no issue. Students who need extra help can still get it from parents. One of my 3rd period students, Nia Hicks, had an incredible idea for Club Wednesday. So on Club Wednesday, teachers can still report to the school if needed, and students who need that help can get it from the teachers, and any other sort of extracurriculars could be completed on Wednesday for Club Wednesday. Teachers would likely appreciate the current system as well. Another one of my 3rd period students, Amari Bowman, wrote, "Let's not forget the awesome teachers at Dinwiddie Middle School. They could spend an additional day with their families." And Dinwiddie County Public Schools has proven that it can work. And so those are the reasons given by my class anyway, why Wednesdays should continue to be a work from home day even after the pandemic is over. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'll do my best to represent the students.
I don't have a question, I don't think. I read it, and I thought, at the beginning, I was wondering, I said, "Now, what are they gonna talk about? What are they gonna debate, talk about?" And then when I saw the Wednesdays, I said, they got really current here. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and I think it's a very good activity for the interaction and back and forward to get students involved in conversation and how you do it. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I certainly would like to see some more issues discussed among the students, and especially when they're getting burnt out. I really would like to hear that, so good job.
I don't have a question. I just want to say I enjoyed your presentation, and I mean this sincerely. Dr. Weston always says smart people can work anywhere. I want to thank you for working for us. That was very good.
I appreciate it.
And Mr. Levine, I think that it's so important right now for students to learn the process of civil debate, civil conversation.
Yes.
Give and take. I don't agree with you, but I can talk about it and not get mad. And that skill is sorely missing in the adults that we deal with a lot of times. So teaching it to the students is absolutely critical. So thank you.
And I just want to say as well, I've assisted Mr. Levin's class 4. The kids are just really into it. I was really into it. That was one of the best classes I've ever seen. So, really proud of you. Doing an awesome job. Continue the great work.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Pittman is absolutely right. We do need to teach it sounds like you're teaching them how to talk to each other and be civil, and that is very important.
Thank you so much.
you very much. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you all. So I'm going to bring before you two calendars, and I guess I probably need to talk about how we got here. So I want to begin by thanking the calendar committee. We've had a phenomenal calendar committee that consisted of representatives from all of our schools. So we have represented Ms. Sims from the high school. We have Ms. Walters from Midway. We have Miss Allen from Southside, Miss Stout from Sunnyside, Miss Brockwell from Sutherland, Miss Mellon from the middle school, and Miss Shoemaker from DES. And so from our calendar committee, beginning last school year, right before we had the abrupt end to the pandemic, the start of the pandemic, I should say, we had some very robust discussions about what it is that schools and students need in order for us to effectively support them pre-K through 12. And so last year we began the discussions of having a pre-Labor Day start. And as we learned, and Ms. Clark is also on the committee, also as our checks and balances in terms of counting days and making sure that we are following policies. And so one thing that we learned is that if we're going to consider any type of pre-Labor Day start, school can only start 14 calendar days before Labor Day. So you can't start on August the 1st. It's only 14 calendar days. And so we did put out a survey last school year, and we did have a large response. We had about 1,100 respondents last school year. Of parents and all types of community stakeholders. And during that time, we did receive, the feedback was largely supported having a pre-Labor Day start. We did not do that, of course, and because of how we were trying to transition and supporting the continuity of learning, we did not roll out that calendar for the current school year. So as we began to look at the upcoming school year, we wanted to come back to have that conversation, but we did survey families and students. But one thing that became apparent is that people felt it was too soon, it was too close to the summer to have these discussions. So what I presented to you is a 21-22 school year, which is a post Labor Day start, and it does meet the requirements of the 990 hours that are required, which is the 100 or the 180 days. So this calendar does do both of those things here. And at any point, if you have a question, feel free to interject. So that calendar does meet all those things. So it does have the post Labor Day start. The spring break is in alignment with the agreement we said we would do with Region 1 the first full week of April. We talked about I know the high school wanted to look at doing graduation a little differently. So the graduation does happen the week before students get out of school. And then outside of that, it's the things that we've normally have done. We will continue to work our one thing we've learned is that professional development has worked virtually. And so we do have a plan to continue to support professional development virtually. And so I know that it was really big for some of the schools that, at the closing of the 9 weeks to do some type of half day so that teachers had an opportunity to close out. And I know it was very important at the high school level when we get to the end of the semester that they needed that entire day because, they were resetting essentially a whole school year. And so that is reflected there. And so then we think about, we live in that 4x4 world. And so one thing the elementary teachers spoke very positively of why they would like to see a pre-Labor Day start. But on the high school, they really talked about being able to get a lot of that curriculum in before the Christmas break, because that whole it's almost the equivalent of a summer slide when it comes to the high school curriculum when you have that spring break. Because the Christmas break, because after Christmas break then it goes into testing for them. So they wanted to be able to get in a large portion of almost all of the curriculum, and they could start testing before spring break. And if you notice with the pre-Labor Day start, after Christmas, there are only 2 weeks. And with that calendar, they would just be doing remediation. They would be doing the expedited retakes during that time. So they felt if the board did approve a calendar like this, then they could get in their testing before the break, but then after the break, they would just be spending time doing remediation and expedited retakes. With the pre-Labor Day calendar, we would be ending the school year. For the 22-23 school year, we would be ending before the Memorial Day holiday. Now, I will tell you that will fluctuate from years depending on how far down Labor Day will dictate when the school year. So it just so happens this year. So some years you may end if we maintain this pre-Labor Day start. The calendar, the students could potentially get out a lot earlier than the Memorial Day, and then some years it may be 2 or 3 days after Memorial Day. It's not always a guarantee that it would fall that way. It's just depending on how Labor Day starts, because remember, it's about the 14 days before the Labor Day holiday. And then outside of that, I think all of the other things are pretty self-explanatory. New teachers would start on the 8th, and then returning teachers would start on August the 10th. And so it's still in alignment with how we do with the post-Labor Day start in terms of teachers returning. Are there any questions? Because I know this is new with us looking at 2 years worth of calendars. So are there any questions? And there are we did get the idea because there are some school divisions that do develop calendars 2 years at a time. And if this is not the direction, then we do have a post-Labor Day calendar that we could make available for 22-23, but the recommendation from the committee would be a pre-Labor Day start and always have a pre-Labor Day starting with the year 22-23.
But I don't have a question, but
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
favor the pre-Labor Day start. But I hope that we can, like you said, keep some of the training virtual. So if we could design some of the training virtual, and in the past we've had sometimes where we had 2 of the teacher training days. We used to call them flex days, where they were able to do them some other time besides August, maybe in July. And certainly if it was training that could be done virtually, it could be done like that, or either in-time class that they could get in their actual classroom.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you could cut off some of the time that you actually had returning teachers or existing teachers when they would actually have to be here.
Yes, ma'am. And we did that. That came up actually during our calendar committee meeting, and so I did have a meeting with Miss Fleming, and we talked about the current teacher contracts. And so the current teacher contracts are 200 days, and so when we looked at the number of contractual days. So teachers are essentially working the 180 days that the students are with us, and then they're doing the additional 8 days. So most certainly, if that's the pleasure of the board, we can most certainly consider that. We just weren't meeting. We didn't know, and I guess that's for further conversation in this type of forum. We didn't know that was something that would be.
Well, sometimes some of the things that they have to do each year are pretty standard. To look at the recertifying in their first aid, or some of the things that you have to check the boxes for. So if there are any things that we could offer that they could do at their pleasure from their homes in the summertime to take off any of the 8 days for the existing returning teachers.
Yes, ma'am. For example, if you look at the 21 calendar, so one thing that I think we've done a very good job of is giving teachers their time.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
yeah.
and so if we look at the 21 calendar, all teachers come back on the 25th, and then we on the week of the 25th, we don't encumber any time that week other than IDCPS.
Mm-hmm.
The following week, we don't encumber any time with the exception of the back to school night. So we really try to give teachers as much time back in there, because I know we've heard that in previous years that teachers want time to spend in their classroom. So we've tried to, if we're going to do any meetings, that we're going to do everything on the same day so that we don't encumber the teachers' time. And so, I mean, but most certainly, is that my time?
Yeah.
Most certainly, we can go back and we can talk about that. We can look at it as an instructional team, as a senior staff, and because they've asked, some of them have asked, and some of them have asked for more time and some of them have asked for less time. I did fail to mention one thing about the 22-23 calendar, that when we moved to that calendar, on August the 22nd, which would be the first day of school, we are proposing that that's the first day of school for pre-K, kindergarten, sixth graders, and ninth graders. And then we would start school for everyone else on the 23rd. And that is the 22-23 for our listeners.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yes, ma'am. But I have noted those things, and we can take all of those things into consideration.
And you may have said, I may have missed it, did you send out a survey to the parents as well for this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we had a total, for this survey, we had less respondents for this survey, but it still was largely parents. We had a total of 599, this is last school year. For this school year, we had a total of 378 parents respond. Actually, it was 400 parents because it's two different groups. So it's 378 plus 440. So we had about 410.
And what did they prefer?
The
as
parents. So this time the parents were split. So this time the parents put a post start, but last school year the parents put a pre-start. And last year it was clear what the parents wanted. This year it was a little it was right down the middle.
And since there's not a vote tonight, I mean, we certainly, if the board would like, we can push it back out there too, to say that we'll be voting on this and make the voice, since it's not a, big sample from the parents this time.
It's just
It's out on the website. Is
Yeah.
it still there?
No, it's not.
We can put it out there as a draft and let parents have an opportunity to provide feedback.
That would be good, I think, so. Maybe like, I say, especially as
I
a
think
greater
that-
number between the 2 years. Maybe.
It's the same percent. The percentage of respondents. The numbers aren't the same, but the percentage of respondents were the same. So it was still 60% of the respondents were parents. More parents. So of the number of people who responded last year, 60% of them were parents. Of the people who responded this year, 60% of the respondents were parents. The sample was just 700. Almost 800 people responded this year, as opposed to last year there were close to 1,100. So it's a difference of about 300.
To me, the pre-Labor Day start and the curriculum being able to be finished before Christmas and/or give some of those tests. In that January time, typically we have encountered weather issues and we encounter, been 3 weeks before I've thought about this, and it's just such a dead time as far as trying to get accomplished. And I would really like to see and if we did it and then we didn't think it worked, we don't have to stick with it, but it's worth a try, in my opinion. Yes, just like Wednesdays.
This is not the vote this evening.
No, this is
for
just
you
the
to
first
review
one.
and get back to your vote. We'll get it back out there and let people want to provide us feedback, more feedback, we'll take it.
Yes. Thank you all.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Thank
Carolyn. Are there any citizens' comments? No. Okay, board members' comments? Start with-
I would certainly like to thank the school nutrition team. I know their job has been very hard this year, and there've been changes. We've been in, we've been out. We have half the kids still on virtual, so they've been so flexible and done a very difficult job. So thank you, Mr. Athey, and all of your team. Also, congratulations to those students and their parents that were in the spelling bee. That's a tough job, and they have to sit up there under the spotlight, so to speak, and it's very nerve-wracking to compete that way. So we'd like to congratulate those young people. And also to Mr. Levine, I know he just left, but hands-on learning and learning that is relevant and is useful to students in their community and in their lives is so important. And I hope we will spread that around a little bit and do it in other settings as well. But in particular, thanks to him.
Okay, Mr. Sam?
Ms. Pittman kind of thanked everybody. That was, I also like to congratulate the football team on the winning. That was an awesome game. Glad to see that sports are moving back and getting back in the area. And glad to see, that we're starting to do field trips and some other competitions. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. And we'd like to just thank everybody for doing what they do.
And I would like to congratulate Ms. Powell and Mr. Moss. I know y'all will do a fantastic job, and I know Sutherland is going to miss you, and DMS will miss you too. But I'm so glad we were able to get the spelling bee kids in here and to be recognized, and that is wonderful. And I know the little Sutherland boy, I wish he would have been here too, because I know, I'm a pronouncer over there, and he's always been at the top. So I know it's been quite a challenge. Those words can be kind of tough. But thank you all for everything, and especially Mr. Athey. You've done a fantastic job, and I don't know how you do it, but we congratulate you and thank you.
I'm not going to repeat everything everybody has said because you don't want to hear it 2 times. But thank you for what you all do. And it's so good to have a board who can summarize everything. So by the time it gets to me, I can say student comments. Ms. Weaver?
Or does it? Okay, it's working. I thoroughly enjoyed the civics project where the students are able to put in their 2 cents and how they feel about certain things. And I think that that should be something that the students do from now on, because it's so important to be a part of your community. And especially when you're a student, just like us, if we were in middle school, I think that we'd want our voices to be heard as well.
I think it's a very good idea, and I was very happy that Ms. Wolfwick presented the idea of another DE class. DE classes are becoming very popular because it's a guaranteed college credit, whereas an AP class, you have the same amount of workload, but you have to pay $95 for the test, and you have to score a certain number for the test. And for certain colleges, it varies. So if you want to go to one college, they say you need a 3, where if you want to go to other college, you have to get a perfect 5. So it varies. Where DE credit, it's guaranteed. So I think that's very awesome that kids are getting that opportunity. I also liked the idea that graduation is earlier for seniors, because I tend to notice that a lot of seniors, when it comes down to last final weeks, they're done. They zone out, and I think that that would be very they would like that a lot. So I think that's very nice that y'all are considering that. And I also liked the idea that K, 6, and 9 would be able to go back before
Personally, I got lost on my first day of middle school. It was very overwhelming. So I think that that would be very good to get them adjusted to the new buildings and the people and just the environment. I think that's a really smart idea. So I'm glad that y'all are taking that into consideration.
And I wanted to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
I really like the idea of having the math classes where they're more geared towards your career path. Because knowing that you have a reason to be in a math class and you're not doing it just because it's a requirement is way better than what it is now. And I'm sure that the students that get to go through that will be very excited to hear that.
Each meeting, I learned a little bit more myself. And we really appreciate your comments tonight.
I would just, like to say that I think the most important day for us is about what happens the day after kids graduate. And we always say that. And, I was just thinking today that probably two of our most important jobs is to make sure that every young person is ready to move into a career, whatever one they choose, and whatever that takes to get there. And then also ready to be a good citizen and to be someone that contributes to the community. So I thank Carly for the work that she's doing with the courses. I think we're so right on track with that, and I love the courses that we're being sort of thoughtful about them. They're not business as usual. It really is about what we need as a community and what this region needs as far as viable careers for our young people. I'm really excited about that. And then I would think that another most important thing would be about student voice. I think we're learning that sometimes we always can get better, and if we want to get better, let's ask the people on the receiving end of all this. And I think we're learning that young people have a lot to say if we just listen. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited tomorrow we're going to get to work with a large group. Monday we'll be welcoming back some new students back. So I'm excited that we're going to see the secondary young people 4 days a week. I would just ask parents to be patient with us with transportation because we will be, this will be new for us as we work this, but we will get everybody back to school that wants to come back to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weston.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move that we recess and reconvene with the county for the budget hearings.
Here's a motion coming from Mrs. Payne. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, we're now in recess.